New Biz Startup Summit and Awards 2023. Nomination from 7 provinces. Connecting with 2,000 plus startup participants. Awards categories more than 4. Powered by Sostwadeal.com. Banking partner Lakshmi Bank. General Insurance partner Shikhar Insurance. Technology partner Rigo Technologies. Remittance partner City Express Money Transfer. Driven by Nexon EV Max. Community partner Nepali Patro. Internet partner Dish Home FiberNet. Supported by National Life Insurance, Nepal Rashtra Bank, Citizen Life Insurance, FNCCI, Nepal Insurance Authority, Alpha Plus Ventures. Organized by New Business Age.
First of all, I would like to say thank you to Tim for his kind words. In fact, it was all pre-planned. You saw us both moving out of the hall, and we planned all this outside during the coffee. So I'm also going to say a few good words about him. I have to, no choice. Because every time I meet him, and since I came to Sebon, I've been meeting him to understand the real world business, the real world enterprise development, the risk taking, the commercial world. Because if we do not understand the real world realities, how do we bring about the right policies? And that kind of enthusiasm and also a total 360-degree perspective on the international as well as Nepal's the environment for business. And that's where I learn a lot from Tim, that he and I have a lot of brainstorming sessions, a lot of them over the coffee. I remember, I think in this year alone, we've done almost 4 sessions. And this gives me a lot of insights, more than what I already have from my regional and international background of business experience. And that allows us to reframe our policies to bring that conducive business environment and that ease of doing business in Nepal. So today I'm going to talk about these aspects of the enterprise development and the right policy making. Because today's this session, the new business startup session, in fact, we've also started at Sebon creating a new platform for things exactly like this, precisely like this. Because when I came into Sebon about 15 months ago, I did a lot of research about Nepal's economic domain, the FDI inflows, a very minimal, almost negligible level we've managed to attract with almost 30 years of exercise, and we've not gone from point A to B. We've in fact remained at point A and point A. We've not made real progress on that side, and I think we must improve on that. So let me tell you about where to begin and how we started the journey. Because if we look back, our 4 decades of banking evolution, of the private sector banking in Nepal, we made a lot of progress. The banks gave us a lot to the Nepalese economy. But I think, as always, a single highway, a single corridor is never enough. So for 4 decades, we remained into one single highway of collateral-based lending and debt service obligations. That is never enough, and that is not a recipe for enterprise development. Because enterprise development is about risk-taking. It takes time to build a company, to build any company. In fact, before I came to the session, I was just trying to rephrase my mind and going back to my management college days and the case studies that we used to do. And even after when I started my first job as a business analyst, the Google and Apple stories, I think we all know about it. I will not go into in-depth, long story about that. But there are a lot of things, a lot of time maybe we don't notice. If you look at, for example, Apple's journey from the garage of Steve Jobs, initially in 1976, there were three partners, Steve Wozniak, Steve Jobs, and there was a guy called Ronald Wine, or how do you pronounce it, Tim? So Ronald Wine. Ronald left the company in 12 days because in those days, the banks were not lending money to companies like Apple because it didn't make a lot of sense to produce computers for general users in those times, 1976. So he thought that this business is already dead. This has no prospect. So he quit the company in just 12 days. He sold his 10% stake. Can you guess at what amount? He sold his 10% in Apple for only $800. Just $800. And there remain just two investors, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. They have no money. Jobs sold his Volkswagen. Steve Wozniak sold the old, assembled computer to raise money to bring the business about. This is what I'm trying to say, that for enterprise development, the state, like us, the state should take the guardianship. State should create that ecosystem that Tim just talked about. That ecosystem creation is our job. If we create the right ecosystem, a right platform, then obviously there will be intelligent people like you will come and grasp that opportunity and build on that platform. And then you will progress the nation. But unless the guardian takes that first responsibility, the whole thing doesn't come about. Had this man, Ronald, waited another 4 years, that 10% would be several billion dollars. Just 4 years. Because Apple's IPO came in 1980, December. And there is one of the highest IPO amount ever in the history of the United States at that time. And today, the company is valued, the market cap is almost $2.75 trillion. Just imagine, would that happen with single highway of traditional banking system of collateral-based lending? No, of course not. So and the Google story is very similar, very similar story. If you look back, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, these two youngsters at the Stanford University, they had this algorithm of, search engine algorithm for their thesis, and they saw some business concept there. They saw some business, what we call business monetization of your ideas. But they had no money. They approached several banks, several investors. None of them came about and saw as a realistic proposition. Finally, the Sun Microsystem founder, he invested something like $100,000. The first investment in Google. Just $100,000. That $100,000 today is worth hundreds of billions of dollars. So the wealth creation happens with the right ecosystem, with the platform, and that is the first and foremost job of any state, the government's job. Government should not do the business, but government should create the environment for business. So what we are doing at Sebon today is we started this private equity and venture capital domain on a very fast-track basis, exactly to create this ecosystem and creating that awareness, because also there was the lack of the knowledge. And people know it, but they don't talk about it. And they don't talk too much positively about it. Because Because of our struggles over these, several decades, I think the society has also become a little bit more pessimistic. And I urge everyone to look upwards and be optimistic, because I think now time is right that the country is going to progress and progress strongly. So what we are doing to create now the complete ecosystem, because we cannot give you the half of the half-cooked story. So we have to create a complete ecosystem. So we have to make viable the private equity and venture capital domain. We need several components, the jigsaw puzzle that we need to complete the story. We have to attract foreign investments, so we have to make it easier and almost, because there is a global commercial reality, so we need to understand without those, the acceptance of those realities in our country, investment will not come. Because in my discussion, I think Samaji, right? Samaji? So Samaji talked about my experience in Thailand, the international markets. When I was the chair of NRN, I had the opportunity to discuss a lot of politicians, Nepalese politicians and bureaucrats on Nepal's governance and development issues and investment, the horizon and the potential that we have and the challenges that we have. A lot of time I hear the same old stories. We want to be unique. We are unique, Nepal. Of course, when it comes to traditions and our culture, we are unique. But when it comes to commercial world, when it comes to business world, when it comes to financial world, we cannot be unique. We have to remain within the global ecosystem, and we have to be on par, at least on the conduciveness, on the protocols, on the platforms, on the ease, and on the exit mechanisms. Because every investor will worry about the exit. Sometimes we get confused. If we have exit mechanism, a quick exit mechanism, we think that investor will exit. No, of course not. They're just looking for flexibility. So these little nuances, they help. So we need to understand every bit of it. So what we are doing today is to make this private equity and venture capital domain on par with the international protocols. We are bringing about the changes, because if we bring the changes at one go, maybe it will not be mature and it will not be long lasting. So we are going step by step. So we will be bringing, as we move on, every week we are going to polish these policies and bring new protocols, new instruments that will help our evolution into going into establishing a true ecosystem for the private equity and venture capital domain. The second part of that is a separate SME platform at the exchange. Because without that, again, exit mechanism, the ecosystem will not be complete. So what we are now doing is, I'm happy to announce that just yesterday, our board of directors have passed the first regulatory framework for the SME platform, a separate index, a separate platform at the Nepal Stock Exchange. The Sebon's board has endorsed the first draft, the first regulation, which is historic. I think this is historic. This will now pave the path for us to go in all the realizing the stories that I told you about, Google, Apple, not on that quantum, but on our national scale. I think we can also now imagine of achieving those kind of realities and wealth creation if we have the right platform. So the SME platform now next week will go to the Ministry of Finance, and then from there it will go to the cabinet for final endorsement. Once the cabinet endorses it, this will become a law, a regulation, not a law, but regulation, part of the law. And then there will be exit mechanism, a proper exit mechanism for the SME platform. So what we are doing is, for any company which is below 25 crores, or 250 million rupees of paid up capital, they can now have basically they will benefit from three principal things. One, the ease of the entry into the exchange will be smoother and very smooth. So it will be easy access, first. Second, they will have less regulation, less disclosure, less like rating requirements, all these things, there will be a lot of relaxations. Because we need to incentivize these companies to come into public and not rely on the traditional banking system, but raise their growth funds from the public. So that will bring about that change that we need to bring the private equity and venture capital investment from domestically and internationally, more and more internationally. With these protocols, the international money flow will come and will become easier and more wiser, more attractive. Third, we're going to reduce the cost of the entry substantially. Again, to incentivize, because we are imagining even a coffee shop chain of 10 coffee outlets can now think about and imagine being listed and raise the growth funds from the public domain and not putting their business into the collateral-based lending risk platform, because not all startup will survive. That's why we need to make sure that the entry cost, the maintenance cost, operational cost remain in the exchange is minimal, so that the cost of failure is also not too much. Because we should be realistic. Even if we can make 50% of survival rate or success rate, it will be awesome. Because we know that from the empirical studies globally, the company's evolution, enterprise development, any company, any enterprise on the evolution path, if they survive for 5 years, there is a probability of them getting, established and getting stronger and a sustainable enterprise almost by 70% probability. It's very high percentage, almost more than 2/3. But if they survive more than 5 years, there is a chance that they will grow and become very strong organization sustainably, 95% more. And this is what we are trying to do. So I think on these aspects, we're making a lot of significant improvements. We are very serious about it. This is our signature policy, in fact, because I'm really committed to create this another additional highway of our financial system. And especially, and the last but not the least, what I would like to also inform you is that now we are also working on, just behind, we've started the brainstorming sessions. So because we understand the potential of the software industry in Nepal, the tech industry in Nepal, the fintech industry. We understand there's a lot of potential, there's a lot of talent, but we have not been able to leverage it. Because again, without the without the presence of that ecosystem and that incentives and that global commercial reality that we didn't have yet. So we're going to, again, Sebon will take the leadership in this thing, and we'll create another platform, hopefully, very soon. We'll create a new platform that is totally tailor-made for the digital world, Nepalese digital world, Nepalese software, BPO and software industry. So again, we will try to facilitate, the ease of the entry into the market, again, disclosure mechanisms, and again, international investment inflows, make it easier for them, make it easier for them to exit. So with this, hopefully we can make another significant improvement into the now leapfrogging the tech industry. Because what I believe is that if we can do all of these basic components, and the state can hold the hand of the entrepreneurs and really form a collaborative relationship, a friendship, a partnership, that we grow together, we struggle together, and resilience, a friendship of resilience. If we do that, there is no doubt in my mind that by 2030, we can even become a $100 billion economy. We can, and we should aim towards that. So with that good thought, and I say you thank you for listening me for such a long time. I think I've spoken too long, so please excuse me if I have done so. Thank you so much. Good evening.
New Biz Startup Summit and Awards 2023. Nomination from 7 provinces. Connecting with 2,000 plus startup participants. Awards categories more than 4. Powered by Sostwadeal.com. Banking partner Lakshmi Bank. General Insurance partner Shikhar Insurance. Technology partner Rigo Technologies. Remittance partner City Express Money Transfer. Driven by Nexon EV Max. Community partner Nepali Patro. Internet partner Dish Home FiberNet. Supported by National Life Insurance, Nepal Rashtra Bank, Citizen Life Insurance, FNCCI, Nepal Insurance Authority, Alpha Plus Ventures. Organized by New Business Age.